Hello, my name's Martin Summers. I have a show with Tony Gosling on Bristol Community Radio. I'm also a member of Reinvestigate 9/11. Now, I'm also a member of the Labour Party, if Michael Meach is still here. But I'm going to give you some very basic stuff. Many of you may or may not have heard. How many people here have heard of Gladio? Gladio. Okay. Now, there's a chap called Francesco Imposimato. He is actually the honorary head of the Italian Supreme Court. He's an old guy, and he wrote a book which has been published in December of last year, and it's called La Repubblica dei Strani Impuni, which in Italian means the Republic of the Unpunished Massacres. As a result of police investigations in Italy running back for decades, it is now absolutely clear that NATO intelligence services were the terrorists in Italy. They bombed Bologna railway station and killed 80 people. They bombed Piazza Fontana in 1969 and killed 9 people. They were involved in the kidnap and assassination of Aldo Moro, the Prime Minister, and Imposimato was the investigating judge in that case. He was also the investigating judge in the case of the assassination of the Pope, which, some of you are old enough to remember, was carried out by a grey wolf right-wing terrorist from Turkey. Strange that, eh? Now, in actual fact, the book is very clear. It says that the NATO intelligence services were behind all of these massacres, that that's the clear position, but nobody has been punished. And I've seen interviews with Imposimato in the last couple of weeks where he says, I've also got documentation that links the terrorism in Italy in the 1970s and 1980s to Bilderberg, the Bilderberg organisation. And it's not me, Martin Summers from Bristol Community Radio saying that. That's the head of the Italian Supreme Court, folks. Now, I spoke to the police officers earlier when I arrived, to the inspector in charge of our little business here. And I think we've actually had quite a good relationship with the police today, and that's the way we want to keep it. Because we want to put these people behind bars. And that's what we're here for. Right, changing the subject matter slightly. How many people here have heard of a guy called Frank Kitson? Kitson. Right, okay, this is new information for you. Captain Frank Kitson was in charge of British Army counterinsurgency in Kenya in the 1950s. And I don't know if people have noticed, but the Kenyans who were tortured by British forces have just won compensation. Only after 30 or 40 years. One of the guys that won compensation lost his testicles, as did many of the so-called Mau Mau insurgents. Up to 1.5 million people were put in camps in Kenya during that period, and up to we're not quite sure, but Caroline Elkins, who's a US academic, suggests that up to 250,000 of those people were tortured to death by British forces. Tortured, electrocuted, flogged, burned. And there was also a big deal about castration, apparently, because they had this thing about black guys. Yeah? Pretty horrible stuff. Anyway, he wrote the British Army's counterinsurgency manual, which is called Gangs and Counter-Gangs. Now, what you do with gangs and counter-gangs is you're fighting the Mau Mau. The British called the people they were fighting the Mau Mau. What they called themselves was the Land and Freedom Army. So the whole name Mau Mau is a way of dissing them, making them sound dangerous and nasty and like Al-Qaeda and all the rest of it, yeah? Now what you do is you then turn some of the people that you've captured, and they go out and carry out atrocities, which is then blamed on the Mau Mau. Brilliant, isn't it? It's been NATO counterinsurgency strategy ever since the 1950s. Now, I don't quite know what happened in Woolwich, although I think I pretty much do know what happened in Boston, and we've done a lot of work on what happened in London in 2007, 2005 with the 7/7. Frankly, the idea that NATO intelligence services are involved in terrorism is not conspiracy theory, it's historical fact. And that's all there is to it. Now, if we were standing in Belfast in 1969, do you know what I'd be asking you to do next? We're not standing in Belfast in 1969, are we? We're here on a field in Hertfordshire in 2013, and we're going to keep it peaceful. But by God, we're going to win!
Excellent.